Hey, and welcome back to the Bloom and Well podcast. I'm Mackenzie. I am a chiropractor, a functional wellness nerd, a backyard chicken wrangler, soon to be, and apparently the person that you come to when your body is doing something that makes absolutely no sense. And so today's episode, this one is going to be for every single woman who finally decided to do something about her health. She picked up the supplements, she cleaned up her food and her diet, she started a new protocol, and then she felt worse. So if you have ever said to yourself out loud, maybe crying into your coffee, like, why do I feel this bad? Why do I feel worse? I'm trying everything that I can to get better. This is your episode, so stay with me. I wanted to start today's episode off by telling you something that's very important. And while you are attempting to go through something like this and, you're trying to get better, you're trying to improve your health, and your body is just responding in such a way that we don't expect, it can leave us feeling very hopeless. And a lot of the times the underlying issue is that our bodies are very sensitive, especially as women. Our bodies are very understudied in healthcare in general, whether you want to look at the Western medical model or you want to look at alternatives or you want to look somewhere in between. And so what is happening in your body makes complete sense. It is just that no one ever explained it to you in a way that actually made sense. And that ends today. So before we dive in, I want you to go ahead, place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. We are going to take a slow, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. This conversation is going to require you being present, but also kind with yourself. So if you feel like you are in a place where you can do that, let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's start by imagining a bathtub. Okay, this bathtub is representing your body's total load, okay? Meaning every single thing that your body is dealing with in any given moment. So things like stress, poor sleep, nutrient deficiencies, foods that may not work well for your body at that time, emotional stress that you're handling, maybe old injuries, you tore your ACL in high school, or environmental stuff. Maybe you're in the city and there's a lot of smog, or maybe grief. Maybe you've recently lost a loved one. All of these things go into the bathtub, okay? And now most of us who have been running really hard for years, our tub is already full, okay? Our lives have been very busy, overloaded for a long time, and our tub is full. Like the water is at the rim. You blow that water and it's gonna go everywhere and start overflowing. So when you add something new, even if it's something good, like a supplement or a detox or a new dietary protocol, it doesn't add healing energy to your body. Okay, it adds to that bathtub, it adds to that load. And if your tub is already full, what happens? It overflows. And that overflow, that is when we start to feel symptoms, right? We get the fatigue, we get the joint pain or muscle aches, we get the headaches, we get the rashes, our gut gets upset, maybe bloating, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, anxiety that just comes out of nowhere and you're like, I have nothing to be anxious about. Why am I feeling anxious right now? Or that bone deep exhaustion, right? Where even getting up off of the couch to go to the bathroom or to get a glass of water feels like you are climbing a mountain. Your body in this moment is trying to say, hey, I can only handle so much at once. And the answer in the moment, based on past experiences for most people, tends to be push harder, right? The answer is to keep going, to keep hustling, to ignore what the body is telling you, right? But the real answer is to make room in the tub, Okay. Now, what fills the tub up in the first place? Okay. The biggest, most overlooked thing is what is happening in your nervous system. Okay. We talked about all these things that can go into the tub, but how do they get there? Your nervous system has two main modes, and you can think of it like a car. So you have a gas pedal, you have a brake pedal, right? Your gas pedal is going to be that sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, that survival mode that we're hearing a lot about. And it fires up when you are stressed, when you are scared, when you are overwhelmed, when you are in pain. And then over here, you've got that brake pedal, right? This is your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, some people tend to call this that rest and digest mode. And this is where your nervous system regulation, right? If you're regulated and you're calm and you're able to easily shift into that peaceful state, that's the brake pedal, right? And we feel safe. We're able to connect with people. And this is also the state where the body heals, where it repairs damaged cells and tissues and organ systems, right? Maintenance work happens here. And so one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, that I'm hearing anyway, is that your body can only do that deep cellular repair, that gut restoration, the hormone balancing, if it is in that brake state, okay? In that parasympathetic, in that calm, rest and digest mode. But in today's society, there are so many of us, especially burned out women, especially those of us who have been through back-to-back difficulties, right? Back-to-back responsibilities, overloads of stress, and we are stuck with our foot on the gas all of the time, even when nothing is actively wrong, right? Even when everything around you is calm, it's peaceful, but for some reason, like on the inside of your body, it feels like chaos. Okay, your nervous system is still firing like there is a lion in the room waiting to eat you, licking his chops. And so researchers call this chronic nervous system dysregulation. Okay, and this affects everything, right? It affects your heart rate, your blood pressure, your digestion, your hormone production, your immune responses, your ability to tolerate things like heat, like supplements, like foods, everything. And so if you are wondering why you can't seem to tolerate everything or anything, and why everything is making you react, this is a huge piece of that puzzle. Your nervous system is your body's master regulator, okay? It controls everything. And so if your nervous system is dysregulated, it does not matter what supplements you take, because your body is not in a state where it's going to be able to use them appropriately or efficiently. So let's take a moment to talk about supplement sensitivity, because this is one of the things that I struggled with in the beginning of my healing journey. And I hear a lot of women struggle, not just women, but I focus on women, right? A lot of women who struggle with the supplements in the beginning, right? If you are chronically ill, if you've been bedbound for a long time, if you've been under a lot of stress or you're burned out, and it's very confusing, discouraging, and it makes you feel hopeless, right? You go to the health food store and you do your research and you buy a good probiotic, or you get magnesium or maybe the methylated B vitamins because you read that it can help with energy. And then you take it and you feel awful, right? Maybe the magnesium's giving you a migraine. Maybe the probiotic is making you bloat or giving you diarrhea or making you very anxious. And maybe the B vitamins have you wired at 2 a.m. and your heart's racing. And then you get frustrated and you're like, oh, I can't even do my supplements right. Like, what's wrong with me? It's not that something's wrong with you. What's happening in this moment is that, well, let's break it down into a few separate things, okay? So reason number one that this can happen, your detox pathways are going to be backed up, okay? So think about your liver as like this recycling facility, right? Your liver's job is to take things out of the body, like hormones, toxins, waste products, and it packages them up so that your body can excrete them and get rid of them, right? But your elimination system, like your bowels and your kidneys and your lymph, those things are like the trucks that actually haul the recycling away, right? So if the trucks aren't moving fast enough, that recycling center gets overwhelmed. It gets backed up with all of that waste, okay? And so what happens is a lot of supplements, especially high dose vitamins like vitamin D, sometimes people get that 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 IUs, or methylated B vitamins, like I see a lot of B12 that are 10 or 20,000% of your daily intake, right? Or anything that's labeled detox, okay, can speed up that recycling center. But here's the catch. If those trucks aren't moving, what happens? Again, it's backed up, right? That recycled stuff is just circulating back throughout the body because it has no way to get out right now, right? And that is why you can feel worse after a detox supplement, because you're not actually excreting anything because everything's moving too slow, right? The ways, those little trucks, right? The bowel movements, the lymph, the kidneys. And so another reason that this can happen is histamine issues. Now, this was my biggest issue. And I know it can sound like an allergy thing, right? We think of antihistamines when we think of histamines, like Benadryl or Zyrtec or some of the more common ones that can come to mind. But histamine is so much bigger than like seasonal allergies, right? Histamine is a chemical in your body. Okay, it's one that your body makes actually, and it plays a role in your immune response. Okay, it also plays a role in digestion. It plays a role in your sleep because histamine is actually a stimulant, kind of like caffeine, and it can also play a role in your hormones. Okay, so all kinds of things that histamines can influence. And, you also can get it from food, not just from pollen or from dander or, your environment. And there's this enzyme that your body makes. It's called DAO, and it breaks that histamine down. Okay? So when your DAO is working well, your histamines are staying balanced. You can process them, okay? Break them down. But in women who have gut issues, hormonal issues, like high estrogen, high estrogen issues that might occur with PCOS or endometriosis, or high cortisol and chronic stress, insulin resistance, that DAO activity can drop, okay? And when that enzyme activity drops, histamines build up, kind of like in the recycling center, right? In the liver, those histamines can build up, okay? And so some of the most popular wellness supplements are actually high in histamines, okay? Or they can trigger your body to release more histamines. So things like fish oils, fermented probiotics, quercetin, NAC. And I think some of these can be very good when you're kind of like microdosing them. They helped me get over my histamine intolerance. So I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm just saying that they can increase histamines. So keep that in mind, right? So for a woman who has a full histamine bucket, right, adding these things can be like throwing gasoline on a fire if you are taking a full dose, okay? And another reason, and this is one that I don't think a lot of people talk about, but your nervous system reads new things as a potential threat, okay? So remember how we had talked about the nervous system being stuck in that gas pedal mode, right? The pedals to the floor, you're in that survival mode, that sympathetic state. And so when you are in that chronic stress state, your body is scanning for danger constantly. And so when something new enters into the picture, even if it's something that is genuinely supportive, right? Like a supplement, a dysregulated nervous system can still respond to it like it's a threat, okay? So we can often get frustrated with our bodies for seemingly being difficult, but it's actually being protective. And it's doing that survival mode thing, right? Where it is protecting your body, it's reacting to danger, trying to keep you safe. And so this is why a lot of women notice that, if their bodies are very sensitive, right? They are reacting to everything. They're reacting to foods, to smells, to supplements, to cleaners, to emotional conversations, to a workload. And it is a nervous system that's been in overdrive, right? And when our nervous systems are stuck in overdrive for a very long time, they lose the ability to filter out what's actually dangerous from what's fine, right? So is this lions or tigers or bears, or is this just an email that I'm reading? And so again, we need to understand the importance of going slow, of being gentle with our bodies, and being intentional with our actions, with our words, with our life. And I think most importantly, working on nervous system regulation first, right? Before all of the supplements, before all of the protocols. And so if your body is essentially reacting to everything, that's data, right? It's telling you, it's sending you messages, it's telling you where to start, it's telling you what it needs, what it can't handle. And all of that starts in the nervous system. And that kind of leads me into, talking about something that I think health and wellness is currently getting wrong, right? I'm seeing so many protocols that are like bigger and better and faster, and supplements that just work faster and more immediate. And, I'm also seeing like this idea of if you're doing the right things, you should feel better immediately and every single day, right? Like healing is this clean upward line on a graph. Like it's a straight line. You're just getting better and better and better and better and better. And so from my experience after being bedbound for almost a year and recovering from a chronic illness, and from being both a practitioner and a patient on this side, on each side of this, right? And as someone who has studied this and poured my life into these kinds of things, into holistic health and wellness, healing is never going to be in a straight line for anyone. And if anyone uses that as a marketing tactic, I don't care if it's a company, a supplement they're promoting, I don't care what it is, no one heals in a straight line, not even close, okay? There are going to be ups and downs. And if someone is telling you they felt amazing and so much better every single day, and they never had setbacks, not a single one, that, my friend, is a lie, okay? It is false. Real healing is going to look more like, hey, I had 2 good days, I had a hard day. I had 3 good days, and then, this old symptom came back for a week, and I was convinced that I ruined everything, and I was going back to a bedbound state, and I was never going to get better, right? Energy that starts to return to that baseline and starts to improve, but then it will plateau. And emotional stuff can surface that you thought you had dealt with years ago and cause a plateau or maybe a little bit of a regression, right? So I know that sounds familiar to you because it sounds familiar to me. I lived through that. And so I've had so many women sit across from me or message me in my DMs and say, I was doing so well and now I am like falling apart again and I don't know what I did wrong. And it's not that you are doing anything wrong, right? Healing just doesn't move in a straight line, okay? And in the functional wellness space, we sometimes talk about something that is called a healing response, okay? Where symptoms can temporarily increase as the body starts to shift. So you can think of it like spring cleaning, right? When you're actively cleaning, the house is, gonna look a little messier than when you started. Things get moved around, old dust is stirred up in the air. The house is, it just kind of looks a little bit in disarray. You're in the middle of a process, right? But that's progress that you're making still. It might look a little chaotic, but you're still making progress mid-motion. And it's the same with the body, right? In the beginning, we might have some symptoms that stir up. We can't be 100% afraid of those symptoms and let that stop us from doing the things that our body needs anyway, okay? And something else that's very important that I want to note, there is a difference between a temporary rough patch that may be part of a bigger positive shift and a reaction that is telling you something that is genuinely not okay. Like your body is not okay right now. So if you are feeling significantly worse and maybe you're having new or very serious symptoms and you're giving it some time and you're not even able to return to baseline with rest, that is absolutely worth checking out with a healthcare provider, right? That is the safest thing to do. But for a lot of people that I work with, and for myself as well, rough patches aren't always a sign to stop. Like if you think about going to the gym, when you're trying to build muscle mass, you're doing the same types of exercises over and over and over and over and over again to get those results that you want in the end. And those results can take months to years, okay, to grow muscle mass, very strong, very big. But what happens in between? It's painful, right? Think about how sore you are after you leave the gym or the next day, right? You're sore, you're stiff. So it's the same when we are working on our health, right? We are going to have rough patches. Change is uncomfortable mentally and physically, right? So it can be a sign to slow down, maybe to lower the dosage of a supplement, right? Always talk about these things with your doctor before you make changes. Okay, disclaimer. Maybe it is a sign to take a break from a protocol for a few days and to just focus on the basics, right? Food that is nourishing, that's going to replenish electrolytes and that's warm and cozy, sleep, water, some very gentle movement and light stretching and rest, right? And so here is what healing that actually sticks tends to look like over time. And I'm saying this from my experience. So you start to notice that the good days are better than the old good days used to be. That is incredible, okay? And then your baseline starts to shift, right? So the floor rises. Even if the ceiling hasn't changed yet, that floor starts moving closer to the ceiling. Okay, that baseline starts coming up and you can do more and more. Maybe you're starting to recover faster from the hard days than you used to. I can remember when I would have a hard day, it would take me a month to recover. And I don't often have those types of days anymore. Or I don't have any anymore that take me that long to recover from. But for example, this weekend, I was out shoveling dirt for 2 hours in 100% humidity in like 80 degrees and with pots. Anyone who has pots knows that is a no. So I could not do that. I could not tolerate the heat. I could not tolerate high exercise. Or humidity with pots. But I did that for 2 hours. And yeah, afterwards I was in bed for about 4 hours. Okay, that was too much for my body at the time. However, if I go back to when I was just getting out of a bedbound state a few years ago, I couldn't even open the door. Like I could not even, it sounds dramatic, but truly, I could not open my back door, let the high heat and humidity hit my face, and be okay. Because my body was that sensitive, right? The pots had, my heart rate would jump up to 170, 180 just from opening the back door, right? From being in dry 68, 69 degrees inside to 100 degrees outside and like 80 to 90, maybe even 100% humidity. And so you might also notice that things that used to wipe you out for a week only affect you for a short amount of time now, right? I can remember like I was sensitive to a lot of foods. And when I finally started eating tomatoes again, I could only have a very, very little bit and it would take me out for like a week. Now I'm having them every day. And you know, you make progress, right? Even emotional reactions can change. Your emotions can start to mellow out, right? Not because you're suppressing it and shoving everything down, but because your nervous system is starting to get more regulated. It's starting to handle stress more. a variety of stress. And so I think that's what we're really building towards, right? And that is something that takes longer than a week, 2 weeks, a month. For most people who have a chronically dysregulated nervous system, who have long-standing gut and hormone issues, we are talking months, right? Sometimes a year, sometimes more than a year. For me, it was more than a year. And I know that's not what anyone wants to hear. But I would rather be honest and upfront and transparent with you and help you build something that is real than tell you, hey, there's this 30-day fix. Let me take your money and watch you go through 3 more cycles of trying hard, crashing, and then just giving up while I've got your money in my pocket, right? You deserve the truth. And the truth is that your body is capable of real change, okay? But you have to understand that your body moves on its own timeline, okay? And so the best thing that you can do is stop fighting your body every single day and start working with it, okay? So one thing that I used to hold on to on the hard days and still do is that there is a steadiness underneath all of this that I didn't create on my own, right? And so the capacity of the human body to shift, to adapt, to find its way back is not an accident, okay? And I don't have to rush it, and neither do you. So we have talked about why these things happen. Now let's talk about what we can do about it. So I'm not here just to explain your suffering, but I want to give you a different path, right? And the path is for sensitive bodies, right? And sensitive bodies almost always need less. Almost always need slower, gentler, and usually in a specific order. But again, always run these things by your practitioner before you change anything, okay? So the framework that I used for myself and that I've used with other people, we're going to negate the name for now because we're working on that. But I don't want to go through the entire thing today, but the core idea is that there is an order of operations that matters, right? And I'm finding that most wellness protocols get that order wrong, unfortunately, right? They start with and this happened to me by a practitioner and put me in the hospital 5 visits in 6 months because my practitioner at the time did not know what he was doing, okay? He was starting with gut protocols, detoxes, and supplements. My body couldn't handle that. And there are a lot of women who were like that too. You go to a functional medicine provider or you read things on the internet and maybe they or you start with the gut protocols or a detox or supplements and your body doesn't react well, okay? Those things can be really supportive when used at the right time. Okay, but if your nervous system is not regulated first, your body's not going to receive them and use them appropriately the way that they're supposed to. Okay, so step 1 is always, always, always nervous system regulation. So that is before anything else. Okay, now what does that actually look like? Some of the most effective ways that you can do this are morning light, slowing down your breathing, and gentle, consistent movement. Oh, and blood sugar stability, okay? So making sure that you're having protein, fats, carbs, fiber at every meal and snack, every single snack. You want fiber, you want protein, you want healthy fats, okay? We want to think balanced foods, balanced meals every time that we eat, okay? And also thinking 1 supplement at a time, lowest doses for at least a week. If you're taking them 1 at a time, you're starting them 1 at a time and not like, hey, let me buy 5 supplements and start them all on the same day, you're going to be able to tell which one your body is able to use right now and which one it can't, okay? And something a little personal for a second, okay? And I think this matters for you to know because I'm not teaching this straight from a textbook. I want to keep this as approachable as possible because there's a lot of textbook knowledge up here. But I want you guys to be able to understand that, right? I didn't understand it. The only reason I do is because I've been studying this stuff for decades at this point, okay? So when I was at my worst, when I was spending, all of my days in bed and I couldn't drive, I couldn't work, I couldn't cook, I couldn't clean, I couldn't even shower hardly, I really couldn't be a person for almost a year. And I did what a lot of people do. And I was on my phone researching obsessively, right? I would order a lot of supplements. I would try new protocols. I would eliminate more foods. I tracked everything. And even certain breathing techniques I was trying, right? Like Wim Hof, okay? And a lot of it was making me worse. And it wasn't because I was doing things wrong. I was following these protocols from, bigger practitioners and companies and, reputable journal articles. But because I was doing them in the wrong order, okay? Because I was doing them at the wrong pace, and because I was working with a nervous system that was so depleted and dysregulated that it couldn't handle any of it, the shift came for me when I stopped trying to fix everything, when I stopped obsessing over my symptoms, I stopped trying to research on the internet, and I just focused on feeling safe, okay? On calming my body down, calming my stress response down. And when you're in the middle of this, you don't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that, right? Because when our nervous system is overreactive and we're stuck in that survival mode, we're usually itching to do something, itching to move, itching to fix it, okay? We feel like if we're not actively doing something to fix it, we're never going to get better. But the funny thing about that is we get better when we're able to stop and we're able to be still, right? We're able to breathe, to pray, to meditate, to get our eyes out in that morning sunlight, right? And to eat healthy, balanced meals. And it's frustrating because it sounds way too simple. I know. I resisted it for a long time because I didn't feel like it was going to be enough. Okay. I wanted to start a protocol. I wanted to start more supplements, a plan with a timeline. I wanted to know I should be better by this day, by that day. And, my body didn't really need a lot of intervention. It needed less noise and more safety. And from that place, slowly and not all in a straight line, right? Things started to shift for me. So I am telling you this because I don't want you to spend another 6 months to a year struggling the way I did. Okay? Start with the nervous system, start with safety, start with gentleness, and you've already been through enough hard things. You don't have to earn your health by suffering through recovery too. So I hope today's episode has been beneficial for you, and I hope to see you in the next one.